The story of the Telltale closure is quite the drama. Spiderman on the PS4 swings into the record books, and Valve decides to steam the trolls. All this and more on a very packed Zorch Central show. And we are live. I am Mike TheZorch, and this is my co-host, Tygra Kahn. And we have a packed show today. A lot of stuff to cover, not a whole lot of time to do it in. It's a big show. Last 2 weeks, a lot of stuff has been happening. Which... stuff we don't cover on this show, but a lot of things have been happening.
Yeah.
So
that's a long movie all to itself.
Yes. But in the world of games and entertainment and movies and everything, a lot of stuff's been going on. I mean, the DC's not the only place where the drama's been happening. Speaking of drama, we're going into our first main story today. And that's with what's going on with Telltale Games. Now, you're not familiar with Telltale too much.
No.
Like, Telltale, they sort of made the evolution on the point-and-click adventure games. They've made games... They came out with a game called The Wolf Among Us, which was sort of a, you know that show on, I think it's on ABC, about fairy tale characters in the real world?
Is that the one, Once Upon a Time?
Yes.
I watched about a season of that. It was
somewhat based on that. It is fairy tale characters in the real world.
Kind of a drama.
And the big bad wolf is sort of their cop that keeps them in order. Well, they made a game called The Wolf Among Us, and it got rave reviews, and people really loved it. And it was very story driven, and people really liked it. And it got the studio a lot of attention, so they started getting licenses for The Walking Dead, AMC's The Walking Dead. They got Minecraft, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Borderlands series, Game of Thrones. They even had a game for the Game of Thrones.
So they had some pretty big IP.
They had some pretty big IPs, and also Batman, Batman: Enemy Within, all very cinematic. Some parts had QTEs, QuickTime events, in them. But overall, a big evolution on the point-and-click adventure games from way back when, like stuff like Maniac Mansion and things like this. This was a step above that. I have Tales from the Borderlands from them, and I've never played any of the Walking Dead games from them, but people really loved those. And what recently happened with Telltale is we may not get the end of the Telltale saga on The Walking Dead. Basically, the company just up and shut down. They
time to tell a tale.
Laid off all but 25 employees and made them leave the building. The next day they were able to come and get their stuff, but they made them all leave the building.
They just walked in one day and said, "Go home, everyone."
Yep, basically that. And they canceled all their projects. They even had a project for Netflix's Stranger Things. They were even going to make a game based on that. And all.
How do you go from having this much IP to we're done?
I think they, Mr. Sano, welcome, and you're on Mixer. I was wondering if anyone on Mixer would be able to see the stream, because Restream said there was an issue with the North American server. So Thanks for
Looks like
watching.
they must have got that
Yes,
resolved.
but apparently they've been having some financial issues. Because they've been grabbing
How many
up
employees did they have total? Do we know?
They had around 200 and something employees.
They had 200 employees. They had this much IP, and they
had that much
fold.
IP. Well, there was the licensing costs for all these IPs. I mean, they had some big. These are all big name IPs, and I think they just ran out of money. Plus, also, there was talk that one of their funders had one of their main funding sources basically pulled out for some reason.
That'll do it.
Yeah, they lost one of their main funding sources. So the company shut down. The employees were allowed the next day to come in and get all their stuff. And then that's when the drama got worse. Because after that, the company started shopping around for more funding to continue the Walking Dead final season that they were working on. And there was some story about them being able to secure some funding to continue the projects and maybe continue working on the Stranger Things game. And it was pretty crazy what was going on. And then one of the former employees files a lawsuit and makes it a class action. Yes, a lot of the employees were grabbed up by other companies. Other companies immediately opened the doors to all of them and started hiring people who got let go. So a lot of people who were let go, they've got new jobs at other studios now. Most of them.
Well, that's good to know.
Because they all of them started reaching out and saying, "Hey, come here, we got positions open." So that's a good thing.
Well, you got seasoned developers. Why not?
But these
I mean,
people
you
are
got
still
people working
owed
there.
severance from Telltale, and also because they operate in California, there are certain labor laws where you have to give advance warning before you close down. Now, this.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty. Yeah. That's pretty. I mean, you would think just common decency. It's like, hey, folks, get ready. 2 weeks, we're closing our doors. Get yourself a new job. Start looking. You know, you think they just come in and at least give everyone the common decency of that, right?
Yeah, and you know, I mean, when you're let go, you are entitled severance pay because you're entitled to get your wages up to that point, and any other packages like if you have like. Paid time off, you have to be paid that.
You know what this makes me instantly want to ask is, did the executives get theirs?
I guarantee you the board of directors did get their money.
You know, it's like, yeah, right there you want to just start thinking about like who did get their severance packages.
Yeah. And the story keeps changing on this as to whether or not we'll actually see the ending of the final season of The Walking Dead or not, or whether we will see the Stranger Things game.
If we don't see it from them, my guess is that Netflix or them could probably go to somebody else and do it.
Last I've heard, they were going to get some kind of funding, and then they weren't.
How are they going to do that if they got nobody left to work for them? I mean, everybody's gone.
25 people left, from what I understand. The last thing I've heard on this story, and that's
bound to be mostly administrative staff,
is that they're canceling everything. That's the last thing I've heard. That we won't.
Yeah, I don't see how they can survive under these conditions. I don't see anything going forward with this. Yeah, just looking at it at a preliminary level, I don't see this surviving it.
The lawsuit's going forward.
Especially with that's right there, death knell. Yeah. They're done.
Yeah, the lawsuit is going forward, and that's probably going to come out of the board of directors for the company. So we'll see what happens there. This drama is not over with. I mean, it just got started, and this is going to go on for a long time.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah. This could go on for a couple of years because the fallout from this.
Yeah, stuff like this usually lasts a few years. This stuff doesn't really. Yeah.
Rick leaves the show. His story is played out of the game. Yes. But, and welcome to the stream. TV Thanos RX. Hope I pronounced that correctly. We seem to get a lot more people from Mixer in the chat than we do from YouTube and Twitch. And I'm surprised on that. But then that's the reason why DM21 Gaming does most of his streaming on Mixer now. He gets a lot more people.
They're more engaged.
Yeah, more engaged. So that's the whole drama with that is the whole drama with Telltale.
Thank you for the follow.
Yep, we got a follow. Thank you very much. Alright. Next story. We're moving this along. Spider-Man on the PS4 is like breaking records all over the place. It's the fastest selling game this year. In fact, it may be the fastest selling game of all time.
Beginning to think it's breaking records.
Yeah, it's sort of it's breaking records. It might become the fastest selling game of all time, beating out GTA 5. And it's definitely proving EA's statement that single player games are dead.
Proving or disproving?
Sorry, disprove. Sorry.
I was gonna say, it's like, wait, what?
Freudian slip. It's definitely disproving EA's statement that single-player games are dead, and it's so far it has completely beat out God of War, which was the previous fastest-selling game of this year, and God of War was a big seller. And this is just not just domestic sales here in the US. It's breaking records everywhere it's being sold, especially in Japan, where Western games usually don't get a big foothold, except certain games like Halo was surprisingly big in Japan. But over there, it's big. It is very big. It sold more than a lot of other games that were being sold there. So this game's really doing well. It beats the sales on God of War, Detroit Become Human, and Yakuza 6. And Yakuza 6 was a big seller.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see how this is going. A lot of people like this game.
Yeah, the reviews have.
We need to get us a copy of this.
Yes, we do, because we have a PS4, and we were gonna be moving the PS4 in here so that Nikki
we can hook it
connected to the capture card, so that we can start streaming some PS4 games and Xbox One games.
Not yet. That's what we were talking about. Is picking this up and giving it a try.
Okay, and. Yeah, the reviews for the game were glowing. It was getting very positive reviews. One outlet, I believe it was Kotaku, they complained that Spider-Man was too friendly with cops. That they turned him into a cop, basically. Saying that they portrayed the police in too positive a light. Far left.
Spider-Man's not a vigilante. I mean, just thinking about this on the surface, Spider-Man's not a vigilante in the way that Batman is, though. At least I don't. My understanding is that
problem is Polygon and Kotaku are very far left leaning, and the left hate police.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Right. Pay no attention to the dumpster fire.
Yes. Yes, we're going to definitely have to get a hold of this game. Always been chaotic good.
That's always been
a member of
Spider-Man's MO.
A member of the Avengers. In fact, In fact, in one part of the game, that I saw streaming, you saw Avengers Tower.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Now, whether or not this game will officially be considered a part of...
My understanding is it's not canon.
It's not canon
because
it's not canon for the MCU.
Yeah, it's not canon with the MCU.
Yeah, but
yeah. There's a lot of content that isn't.
They did drop some, from my understanding, they did drop some Avengers Easter eggs in the game.
I've only seen a little bit of it, but I like the way that they did the Kingpin character, because they really kind of made him look a lot like the Wilson Fisk character from
Daredevil.
The Daredevil. Yeah. I mean, it's not the same. He's not portrayed the same way, but they really modeled him after him pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was canon. I was pretty sure it wasn't, but yeah.
Not canon for sure, but Insomniac did a great job with the game. I mean, the previous Spider-Man game that was considered one of the best was Spider-Man 2. And it's been a long time since we had a really good Spider-Man game. The one thing that people consistently say about it is that it really gives you the feeling of being Spider-Man swinging through New York City.
I do need to check this out, because I've always enjoyed games with really good swing mechanics that.
Because you were talking about that before, because we discussed a mod that we used to use in Quake.
Oh yeah,
where you would have this.
That was so much fun.
Shot line where we could basically swing like Spider-Man through a map.
It was like literally giving you Spider-Man like abilities in Quake 2. Yeah. It was a mod that had a grappling hook with a very flexible cable, and you could shoot up at the ceiling and then pull yourself up and dangle there, and as people were coming along, you could just pick them off. It was so much fun. They did that mod so well.
There's never been anything like that.
I have never ever seen anything that good since.
And this is on par with that.
Spider-Man. Then sounds like it's something I would probably have a lot of fun with then.
So I am definitely want to see that. It's one of the games that we'll definitely be covering, probably on Gamers Bay in Old Gamer Place next. The show that I do on that channel. I'll probably be covering that.
We'll get the PS4 hooked up in there.
Okay, and we have some news items to cover.
Newsflash.
Yes, newsflash. Lots of them. All right.
And now, time for the news.
A meme has actually resulted in Nintendo's stock prices going up. There is a power-up from Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe that turns Toadette into Peachette, and it has become a meme that has basically blown the internet apart. It's just blown it up. Basically, imagine a crown that turns anything that turns any male character or any non-male character into a cute girl, and you put it on Bowser.
Is that what that? Because I've been hearing about this I have not been paying attention. I've been so busy with some other stuff. But I do remember something off to the side about doing something to poor Bowser with a crown. I did not know what it was about. That was this.
Bowsette. Yes, and this has exploded all over the internet. I mean, it's all over all the groups that I'm in Google Plus, and there's people that complain about it and there's people that like it, but it has gotten so much attention. There are manga writers that are now working on this. Uh-oh, and looks like my camera's froze again. I'm going to have to figure out something to solve that problem.
Well, getting a proper camera is going to be the first
it's to capture
on that
device. Okay.
It says lost Zorch's feed.
Yep, it's back. It's a USB 3 device, and there's something on the connection that's sort of wigging it out. It's a finicky device. We might have to. We might have to get another. Now, Elgato, they make one similar that might be less finicky.
Yeah, we need to get something to deal with that.
But yeah,
it's a technical glitch with some of the stuff we're working on it.
There's a meme. That meme actually made Nintendo stock prices jump up. There's even a petition to make Bowsette canon. It almost did. There is some official artwork from Nintendo that almost makes her canon. All right, here's something that relevant to you. CBS shuts down fan-made Enterprise D simulator, Stage 9, with a cease and desist letter. This is the...
Sounds like somebody really needs to send CBS a cease and desist letter on this stuff, because they're not... They complain that nobody wants their crap. They complain that nobody wants their streaming service. They complain that nobody likes them. I wonder why.
Yeah. I mean...
Why could that possibly be?
Don't attack your fan base. I mean, there's a reason why the anime industry.
Because I've been paying attention to. I mean, I've seen this project a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, because what it was it started out because I myself wanted to build an enterprise model, and I had scans of the plans and everything, and I was going to build it in Unreal Engine. I was going to, deck by deck it and everything, but I never got around to it because it was complicated and I was having trouble with it. It was just me by myself, but I was working on it. But I kind of stopped when I saw their project because I'm like, these guys are they're owning it.
And they were really good.
This is years ago. This project's been in existence for at least... I started this when we were living in DC, and that's before 2012. Yeah. And I believe this is one of the ones that was running at the time. So this project's been running for at least, 5-6 years now or longer? So the whole time, this has been sitting there and not bothering anybody. They're not charging, I don't think they're charging any money or anything for any parts of this. It's there to use, to mess around on, and then CBS wants to go get a stick up their butt about it, about something that's that old. And it's like, and then what you get from them is crap. And you got me stirred up now. This has got to stop. This is bullcrap. I mean, if they really... It's like they think that this is going to make them money. No, it's going to make them lose money. If you're an investor in CBS, you need to give these people a call and tell them to stop this, because they're hurting the product, they're hurting your bottom line, they're hurting your stock investment. They're hurting they're messing up your portfolio with this kind of crap.
There's a reason why Lucasfilm allows people to make Star Wars fan films. In fact, one of the Star Wars YouTubers, it's Star Wars Theory, he's working on a fan film, and it's costing him $100,000 to do it. There is a reason why they allow it. And CBS has attacked the Axanar film, which is a mock documentary about an event in the Klingon War. They attacked that. And they also claimed that fan productions could not use original cast members from Star Trek. And there's a legal thing. There's a legal thing where they may not be legal. And so
they can't control that's bullcrap. These people are human beings. They have their rights. You can't just.
Because George Takei, he appeared in Star Trek Continues, that project that was being run by...
Nichelle Nichols has appeared in this stuff. George Takei has appeared in this stuff. Walter Koenig has appeared in this stuff. Who else? The guy who played from the original Planet Killer one.
Neelix, he appeared in one.
Neelix? Matt Decker. He was the guy.
Tuvok was in it.
Yes.
I mean, they had just about everybody except for Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner. I mean, they even in this one fan production, they were continuing it until the final episode, and then they were going to stop because of all the legal.
I mean, if you're CBS and somebody's making the product for you, advertising for you, doing your work for you, that's your content out there for free. That's advertising for your product for free.
And Star Trek Continues even had James Doohan's son as Scotty, and he did an excellent job.
Because I've seen some of this stuff, and some of this stuff is darn good.
Yes, very good.
Some of this stuff beats out what these guys do. I mean, even on their little shoestring budgets, comparatively speaking, that they pull off this stuff with very good quality. And sometimes, sometimes the acting's a little off, but sometimes it is spot on.
Well, Star Trek Continues is done by Vic Mignogna.
I mean, I'm saying that there's been various levels of quality in the production.
They even have Grant Inahara, who
some of it's been really freaking good.
Mythbusters as Sulu.
Yeah. Some of this stuff's been really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes CBS look bad because all they can do is pump out crap.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like you look at the stuff they're trying to do with Discovery, and it's a small crowd who actually likes that. Most people don't. It's crap.
Yep. Moving on, Intel invests $1 billion to meet 14 nanometer demands. They're going to focus on high-end Core CPUs and Xeon processors in order to combat AMD's rise. And they've been having trouble with the 14 nanometer process. This is a very oversimplified description of what's going on, but when they produce chips, they take a large silicon crystal and shave off platters. They basically shave off platters, and they put it through a process that is similar to how photos are developed. Now it's a lot more complicated than that, but they could put it through that process. And as you add more cores and more circuits to a CPU, that CPU gets bigger. And so the number of chips you can actually put on a single wafer of silicon drops. So what they're going to do is they're going to put different size CPUs on a single wafer to make more use of the space. And not every one of them comes out perfectly. This is where binning comes in. This is why you have multiple different SKUs of i3s, i5, and i7s, because they're trying to aim for the higher end chip, but some of them have problems, like some of them might not, all the cores might not work, or certain memory controllers may work a little differently because of small production flaws. And so these end up being the lower end chips, like the i3s and the i5s. And then the really good ones are the i7s and maybe the i9s, and so on and so forth.
You've got a question on the side here, Mike.
Off topic. Why is there no competitive multiplayer in Assassin's Creed?
There's more competitive multiplayer in Assassin's Creed.
That I don't know. Why no multiplayer in Assassin's Creed?
Did they take it out? Has it been removed in some way from an existing game, or are they not putting it in the next version or something?
Well, the next game that's coming out is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and
is that going to be single player?
I think that one might be just single player. I do not know. I have Assassin's Creed 2, 3, and Black Flag. And
you played that one quite a bit, didn't you?
And I think there was a multiplayer, but I have not actually played it. So I do not know why there isn't a competitive multiplayer. They probably just wanted to focus on the story, because the new game, the Odyssey, is going to be more RPG than any of the other past Assassin's Creed games.
Were they trying to head more toward action-oriented, action RPG style? Like
they're going to have large epic battles, branching storylines, and also they're dropping the annual release schedule, so there's not going to be as many Assassin's Creed games. They're going to give it more time for new ideas to develop.
Fewer games, better quality is what they're claiming.
Yep.
Okay, well that can be a good thing, even though it makes you wait longer if what you get is better quality rather than just Xeroxed a few lines from the last game and then just change some graphics and call it a new game.
So, getting back to this, Intel is investing $1 billion to invest in fabs so they can make chips. They've been having trouble with the 14-nanometer process because AMD fabs, they don't actually... Intel still runs their own fabs for making chips. AMD doesn't. They outsource to, I think it's TSMC. They outsource to them to make their chips, and they have patents for 14 and 7 nanometer processes. And so they've been making the Ryzen chips.
So they can even take it even further if they're willing to pay for it.
Even further, and Intel has been trying to catch up with that. And so they're investing $1 billion in opening more fabs to meet.
So what might have been once Intel's strength might now be their weakness.
But they're focusing on the high end, which means their chips are going to be expensive, whereas AMD
Intel generally, I think, has generally been slightly ahead of the AMD on a general basis. They usually have chips that are a little outperforming, but on the flip side, AMDs have always been more affordable, so there's more out there.
Yes, I have heard of Skull and Bones. That is based on the ship battle aspect of Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I've actually been interested in getting into that.
So is it just like an ocean section, and that's all a game itself?
Yeah, it is because in Black Flag you have a ship with a crew, and you can go out and you can attack other ships, loot them. It's basically ship battles with pirates. That's what basically this is. This is that part, because it was done very well. And this is that part refined further.
But hopefully not a Sea of Thieves repeat.
Not a Sea of Thieves repeat, no.
Okay.
No, this is pretty good. I've actually been interested in taking a look at that, at Skull and Bones. If you have a Facebook account, you might want to change your password because they've been hacked. And
what else is
also
new?
The phone numbers that you've given to Facebook in order to recover your password, and also for two-factor authentication. They have been using those for targeted ads. They've been selling those for targeted ads. So more strikes against Facebook there.
What else is new? Yeah. Facebook is...
So I've already changed.
I got another word to put there in front of.
I've already changed my Facebook password, and if you are a user of Facebook,
I gotta set mine.
Yours. Yeah,
I gotta set mine then.
Yep. Okay, the Disney Fox deal. That's almost done. No problem.
No problem.
We'll take any questions that come through. No problem there, Mr. We'll take any questions that come through. I mean, the last couple of shows, we didn't really get that many people in chat, and it's always good to see people show up. Even though this show will be viewable, recorded on YouTube. We like to answer questions from people watching.
We may not know what we're talking about, but we'll be happy to answer.
Yes, we're not experts on everything, just a few things. I mean, both of us, we're IT veterans, so when it comes to tech stuff, we mostly know a lot of stuff about that.
Except for when we don't.
Yeah, except for when we don't. So the the whole deal with Disney and Fox is almost done.
This is going to be interesting.
There was a auction, and Disney was the highest bidder for Fox, and Comcast is getting Sky TV in the UK. And Fox isn't getting, Disney isn't getting everything from Fox because there are certain things they can't get because of legal issues, antitrust issues. So they're not going to be getting the sports and news channels.
Fox News, Fox Sports.
They're not going to get the studio, the studio grounds, but they're going to lease it. And anything else they don't get is going to be separated out into its own separate new Fox company. But they are getting 20th Century Fox, 20th Century Fox Television, 20th Century Fox Home Video, National Geographic Channel, a 60% stake in Hulu, and
that's interesting because just looking at what they're getting here, it's like, okay, so...
And this is an abbreviated list. This is an abbreviated list.
Thank you for the follow.
Thank you, Mr. Sano.
20th Century.
And you're hosting us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so...
So Fox Television, I mean, that's got a lot of stuff on there, too.
They still have to go through the regulators.
That's a lot.
They still have to get through regulator approval here and in the EU. But it's pretty much almost a done deal. And there has been...
Yeah, we're on the backside of all this.
There has been some talk about bringing the X-Men into the MCU. And
yeah, if you're a Marvel fan, they're as far as the MCU goes, there's a lot of... they're getting ready to... Because my thing is, it's going to be interesting to see how that they do it.
They're getting ready to enter Phase 4, and...
Right. They're entering a new phase that once we get Captain Marvel and then Avengers 4, then that's out of the way, and I think they got a few things planned up front that they were already working on.
Yep.
And then they're going to start looking at how they can bring in those X-Men characters. It's going to be interesting just to watch how they roll the narrative on bringing those characters in. Yeah. And how that's going to work with the already existing X-Men franchise. Like, are we going to get a Hugh Jackman, or are they going to recast Wolverine if Wolverine's in it? It just reminds me of that scene. It's so funny in that one animated. Which was it a Wolverine, or which one was it? Where he's like, he wakes up. There's a scene where Wolverine wakes up. And he's like, "What happened?" And you hear Hulk roar in the background, and he's like, "Oh, yeah."
That was one of the animated.
That was so good.
That one was good. That one was good.
That was so funny. That's my favorite scene.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's almost pretty much a done deal. All they have to do is wait for, regulator approval, and the EU is already. Last I saw of this, the EU is already signed off on it. So all they have to do is just get FTC approval here, and it's pretty much a done deal. So they'll have X-Men. After all the drama between Fox and Disney for a long time over these Marvel properties, they'll finally own them.
So do you think when you say it doesn't make sense, you're referring to X-Men characters in the MCU? Yes. I'm just kind of curious.
X-Men characters in the MCU.
Because he was saying, Mr. Nano was saying makes no sense, and I'm wondering if that's what he was referring to, is kind of like how they're going to roll it together.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they do it. Maybe with the whole idea of being able to go to other dimensions through the quantum realm, quantum energy, they could do it
that half everybody. My theory is sort of floated around the idea. My little fan theory is floated down the real that all these people who got dusted, when they restore, something happens when they're restored that changes them so that some of them have powers. That's been my little 2-cent theory.
Possible. Or something to do with the Infinity Gauntlet and how they're brought back.
Mm-hmm. How they're brought back causes them to gain powers. That when it restores them, all that energy restoring them also enhances them. So there's all these people now. Not everybody, but select ones that now have powers, and they're having to work through it.
And there's the Fantastic Four, and they aren't specifically mutants.
Mm-hmm.
So they could easily fit into the MCU.
And it'll be interesting to see if they can do a round. Yeah, it will be interesting. And that's going to be the interesting thing is doing another Fantastic Four movie. And the thing wasn't the guy who played Chris Evans in one of them? Or Chris Evans
who played
one
original,
of them?
He was in the original films.
Yeah, so it's going to be funny if... I don't think they're going to run into to Captain America, because I think Captain America may bite the bullet, possibly, in Avengers 4, but it's going to be interesting if they can do a proper Fantastic Four. Yeah,
Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios has done an excellent job thus far, and I think they're going to be doing an excellent job with this, I think.
Yeah, and Fantastic Four's had two redos.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah, and I think they can, because we've had another product, a Marvel product, that has had two iterations before they got it right, and that's Spider-Man. He had two iterations prior, which were okay, but they finally got this one right. So maybe with Fantastic Four, maybe they'll have a repeat where the two prior iterations were okay, but now they can get it right. So they have a history of being able to pull this kind of thing off. So there's hope there.
And speaking of Disney, Star Wars Resistance starts on October 7th on Disney XD. There's a extended preview on the Star Wars YouTube channel that looks pretty interesting, and there's a part of it near the end of the preview. I don't know if they got Carrie Fisher to record lines for this show before she died, or they got someone completely new. But she's like almost
Brimmy badge
spot on with her voice for General Leia. And thank you for the follow. Brinny badge 20520. Thank you for the follow.
2520. I'll do it.
We're gonna have to see about setting up Streamlabs. Streamlabs OBS. You know, when you watch those Twitch streams, and they'll have like the cup of bits in the corner, and they'll flash a message on screen when someone follows you.
Oh, okay.
That's how they do it. That's how.
Okay, yeah, we should set them like.
It's part of a service along with a version of OBS designed for it. Could be and our Stream Deck supports it.
Okay.
So it looks interesting. The show is CG animated, just like Rebels was, but it's more of a cel shaded style this time, and it actually looks looked interesting. Poe Dameron is a character in the series along with BB-8, and it looks like sort of a spy sort of story. Spy drama or sci-fi with a racing team. Okay, and
hello to Fallout King and
hello.
And thank you for the
thank you for the follow.
Thank you for the follow. Hypebot.
I need to trim it. I've let it grow out a lot, but I need to trim it because it gets in the way.
Not the
beard! So, that'll be interesting to watch on the 7th. We don't watch too much TV around here, but that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, TV's been...
Because Rebels started out slow originally.
I actually didn't like Rebels at first. I thought it was kind of dull and boring. I knew it was like, okay, it's a kid's show. It's Star Wars, but it's a kid's show. And then, man, when Tarkin showed up... Okay, that woke everything up.
And then Thrawn. They made Thrawn canon in that show. It's like...
Yeah, they made him canon.
And
and the thing is, they didn't kill him off yet, so there's still material to work with him. They're not finished. They needed to pass him along into the future because of the continuity, but he's still out there. They're not done yet.
Getting into a little bit of tech news here. Some more, because in addition to what we talked about with Intel, there's a flaw with the new iPhones. Apparently, it's either something to do with iOS or the phones themselves, where they won't charge. You plug them in, and I agree. You're not wrong there. But there's a problem, and I actually saw a video on this from Unbox Therapy today, where he was demonstrating this, where when the phones are in sleep mode, you plug the lightning cable in, the phone won't charge. And it will start charging when you bring it out of sleep mode, but when it goes back into sleep mode, it won't charge anymore. And there was an article like...
is this a hardware issue, or is this a software
problem? It might be hardware, it might be software. It's difficult to say. And yeah, it's the relay from Restream.
Restream, yeah.
Restream is doing that relay where they make the chat available on all platforms that we're streaming to.
But it adds a delay to it.
We're streaming to YouTube, Twitch, and to Mixer all at the same time, and they're relaying that all over the place, and the chat is laggy. Yep, it adds on quite a few seconds.
Plus, if you toss in buffering time, that probably could be going on too with the actual video stream itself.
Definitely.
That probably adds in an extra.
Definitely.
It's a side effect.
But ZDNet, about a month or two ago, a ZDNet writer released an article about this same problem, where they would plug their phone in, it wouldn't charge. And they went to the Apple Store.
Welcome to our friends from across the pond.
Yep. In the UK. And so he went to the Apple Store, took his phone to the Genius Bar, and they told him he was plugging it in wrong. And the way he was describing it, said, oh, he was just plugging it in when he should have been plugging it in slow. I was like, is your lightning connector that weak that someone just plugging it in like that is going to break it? I mean, come on, that's a lame excuse.
Striking to me.
They replaced his phone like twice because of the problem. And now we're seeing this, and more people are complaining about it. It's like, okay, this may be a widespread issue. And he had and Lou from Unbox Therapy had multiple phones out on his table, and most of the new phones and one of the older iPhone 10s had this problem.
Is this a failure in the cable itself, or in just the design flaw?
It may be
I mean, is it not making connection, or is it just a...
Some people have had to... the lightning connector is omnidirectional. It's sort of like USB-C, where you don't have to put it in any specific way. But some people have said that if they flip it over and plug it in, it starts charging. But they do it a different way, it doesn't. And it's been...
it's an electronics issue. It's a manufacturing issue.
It may be a manufacturing issue.
A little thing in there that allows the circuit to flip.
One person said that you had to go into security settings and allow USB to operate when the phone was asleep to solve the problem. And some people said it didn't solve the problem for them, so it's... who knows what it could be. It could be both software and hardware each.
It's Apple's failure code triggering too early.
And there's been speculation that Apple might be getting ready to abandon the Lightning connector to go USB-C. So...
you mean do the smart thing after you've done the stupid thing?
I mean, basically do everything that every other phone is doing, going USB-C.
Yeah.
So that's been a problem. Alright, that was all our news items. Now our third item, and we have a very special bonus main story item to cover. But before that, Valve has already started, as of the 25th, started moderating game forums on Steam. So what they will do is they are not monitoring them on an active basis. What they're doing is they're handling posts on a case-by-case basis as they're being reported by other users.
Now, this is going to be interesting because, I mean, I hung out in the No Man's Sky forums for a long time before Next dropped, and there was trolling to the crazy levels.
Oh, there was crazy trolling in that forum.
Yeah, there was crazy trolling in that forum. So is it like every time you go report a user or report a post, they're going to come in and check on this? Because I know that my understanding was it was up to the developers in the
yes, it was up to the developers.
Forums.
It was up to the developers to do it, but not all developers have a moderating team.
Yeah, because I mean, it was sometimes something would get reported on. Like, for example, somebody would start a troll post, and you wouldn't see it locked for at least, it would be like 200, 300 posts, and it would just be a giant freaking flame war going on, and finally it would get locked. It's like maybe once a week somebody would just wander through and lock all the big posts because they're out of control or something.
And some of those forums get so many messages. I mean, you could easily get a small moderation team, and a developer could easily get overwhelmed. And Valve...
Yeah, I mean, because since Next came out, that forum got extremely busy.
Yeah.
After that came out, so I could imagine they don't have the time now.
Valve already moderates other parts of the Steam community, so what it is they will, as I said, they will not be monitoring every game forum. What they will do is when something gets reported, they'll come in, look at it, and they won't even communicate with anyone unless they need to, on either issuing a warning or banning somebody. And also the developers, if they already have a moderation team in place, they can opt out of it. But as you said, in the No Man's Sky and Elite Dangerous groups, there's a lot of trolling going on, because with No Man's Sky you had the screaming Sean Lies crowd. And in the Elite Dangerous...
And Elite Dangerous, I never hung out onto the Steam forums. I was usually on the official forums whenever I was on the Elite side. I found that the bigger activity was generally there.
Similar problems
but there had been issues.
Yeah. Similar problems in Elite Dangerous as that you see in the official forums, where someone tries to, suggest a good idea, and the haters just...
It's like even the smallest suggestion, even the smallest, simplest, most innocuous suggestion would turn into the largest explosion of WTF troll fest that you'd ever see.
Simple ideas for like better quality of life changes to the game and things like that. And
we're talking even simple stuff. Even stuff like, can we just turn the cab lights off? When you have a whole bunch of even positive reviews, sometimes it would get out of control.
Yes, it's just anything that would. A lot of the things. One thing that gets them going is any changes to PvP.
Oh God, you make a change. You're asking for a fight there. That's any suggestion there is fighting.
Yes,
you're gonna get a fight.
And the issue of PvP and Elite Dangerous is a completely different ball of wax. We've discussed that before. And it wasn't pretty.
No.
Bonus item. Talk about in the show. Sony has finally caved on crossplay.
Now, my first immediate question is this just one thing, or are they going to cross the board with everything?
Well, right now, they're so-called open beta with Fortnite. And they say this will be extended to other games. Which ones? I don't know. I don't think this will be extended across all games. But,
it's like...
Uh-oh.
Honestly, I wonder if it's their sales are finally suffering enough, and this has become the #1 issue why people say they don't want a version of a game on their platform, because they can't. It limits the amount of people that you can play with. And by that happening, that further limits the number of people you can play with, because if you want to play online with whatever game that happens to be your game of choice, you're like, well, I don't want to be on Sony's platform because I can't play with my friends. So you go over to another one where, you know, might have more friends, like on Xbox or on PC or whatever. And so it makes the audience, because if you have a choice and you're not as picky about the platform, then you're like, well, I'd get more people to play over here as opposed to on Sony. And so that's less people. So it makes it even smaller.
Yeah.
And so that's less sales for Sony's version of stuff. And that hurts them. You'd think that this would have been a no-brainer, simple. It's like, get your corporate executive, you know, ego out of our investor portfolio. Bottom line, please. Thank you very much.
And Sony gave all sorts of lame excuses as to why they weren't doing. Also, we had some lag just earlier. I think we had a brief disconnection, but we're back.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on. We are on. But Sony had this lame excuse about why they weren't doing it, saying that they were doing it to protect gamers.
It's bullcrap.
It's bullcrap.
That's bullcrap.
Tell you what the real reason was is because I looked at this at their official statement on, you know, why they were allowing this, and I go, now I understand what this was over. Microtransactions. Because if, let's say, someone buys an asset on, but Fortnite has microtransactions, and
okay,
they weren't allowing people to use their accounts that they created on PC or Nintendo Switch or or Xbox One on the PS4. Oh, they had to create a separate account just for PS4.
So that Sony could collect all the money.
So Sony could collect the money. They couldn't collect the money. So if someone was on another platform, let's say they were on a Nintendo Switch and they bought something, and they came over and used that account, well, they would be using that something, but Sony wouldn't get any of the money from that. That's what this is over. That's what this was over. It was over microtransactions. That's why they weren't allowing crossplay.
Well, there's two things that I could think of come into play then. Microtransactions are kind of... I mean, a lot of players don't have too much of a problem with it when it supports the game that they're playing. I mean, like if you're buying a paint job in Elite and you know that it's going to go into supporting the game for the developers to produce more. In Final Fantasy, you buy some of that stuff. Final Fantasy is expensive. And you buy a thing off the Mog Station store, and it's like $20 in some cases, but it helps the development of the game going forward. So in a way, we don't really have a problem with it necessarily, but it's like when you try to get greedy and do what they're doing, where they're trying to hog all the money, A, it's taking money from the developers, and B, again, it's like you're hurting your platform, so you're actually getting less money because there's less people playing on it, so there's less transactions going through. So again, it's a net negative in the end. So you'd think they would have worked the numbers and said, this isn't working for us. That you could have, anybody with common sense could have told them a mile away this was a bad idea.
Yes.
But
so they're allowing it. They're allowing people to use.
They're trying to see if they can get more money through this. Is what they're trying to see.
Allowing to use their accounts from other platforms on the PS4 now, and this will be extended to other games. How many other games and which other games we don't know yet. But this is
They just need to stop this because it's hurting them as a platform. It's hurting them as a corporation. It's hurting their image, and it's hurting their investors' bottom line. And if I was an investor, I'd be banging on the door saying, "Stop it!"
Yeah, because it limits the audience because
limits the audience. It limits the participation.
Not everybody has a PS4. Not everybody wants to buy a PS4, and
they just, for whatever reason, whether they just don't have the money or they just don't like the platform or whatever, they don't want it.
So it's just because of the politics of the console war. I mean, you're gonna.
I think it's more just corporate greed and corporate egotism.
Yeah, you're gonna keep people from being able to play with their friends if they have the same game on different platforms. I mean, that's like not right. Some people have used the excuse also to complain about this over mouse and keyboard users, which really isn't a issue because you can use a mouse and keyboard on both consoles.
That's if the game. I mean, you got USB ports, keyboard and mouse. You plug right in, just go right at it. There's no thing.
In fact,
and besides, there are some people who are just as good on controllers that can kick. I know that there is a significant difference in playing the two styles. Like for first-person shooters, I don't like a controller at all. I can't do it. I gotta have my mouse and keyboard. Yeah. But like my brothers who kind of grew up without first-person shooters with a controller, I wouldn't be able to face them directly on another controller because I couldn't do it. I'm too used to the one style. And so there's a little bit of a difference there. And there has been evidence to suggest that keyboard and mouse are faster. In some cases that could be true, but it's just a preference. Just because you're on controller doesn't mean you're at a disadvantage. There are people just as good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of and like you said, keyboard and mouse can be hooked straight in. Developer can throw in some keyboard and mouse support. You're done. Problem solved. So there's no excuse. That's so flimsy. It's even funny it was brought up.
Overwatch players have been using keyboard and mouse on the PS4, and Xbox One is getting Razer keyboard and mouse support. In fact, Razer is going to make a keyboard and mouse for the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Okay.
I nowadays that's just such a weak argument. It's hilarious.
So that's been our main topics for today. We have some end of show announcements for the channel. So getting here. Chloe and the Professor is coming back. I'm going to be doing some new episodes starting next month. At least one episode a month of the show, and the scope of the show is going to be expanding beyond video games. It's going to cover things like film, books, comics, and more. The similar premise to the show is going to be the same, of using those as a springboard to talk about or educate on other subjects. But I'm going to be bringing the show back. I'm going to have to update Plotagon on the machine in there and see what all has changed in the software.
That was the software you used to make it?
But everything else is more expensive and Plotagon is free. And I have some purchased assets in Plotagon. Like, there few things were $1. And the last I used Plotagon, they made it to where you can have 3 characters now in a scene instead of just 2. So that was a couple of months ago. It was a few months ago. So it'll be interesting to see how much it's changed since then. Also on Gamers Bay, on Devil's Night and Halloween, I'll be doing a live stream from here. On Devil's Night, I'm going to be live streaming Doom 2016 and Dying Light on Halloween night.
Which is when is what's Devil's Night?
Devil's Night is the day before Halloween.
Okay.
So those will be happening, Devil's Night and Halloween, on the Gamers Bay channel on YouTube. I will also be resuming Bike with Mike. I did 1 episode of that, and I'm going to be starting that back up.
Your thumbnail was still classic.
Yeah. So I'm going to be starting that back up. I'm going to be using OBS to stream that instead of the built-in streaming feature in YouTube on the YouTube page. So I'll be streaming to all 3 platforms. I'll be streaming to YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer. All 3 for that show in the mornings. As I need to do it. You know, I'm fluffy and I need to unfluffy.
I can laugh because I'm just as fluffy. That was such a good...
And It's also a part of dealing with issues because I've had dealt with depression. I had issues early on, and that's what was affecting me when I moved out from Michigan to DC, and I just didn't care about anything, and that really affected me. You can overcome it, but you can never get away from it. And here lately it's been showing its head again, and that's why I haven't been doing as much video production. And I don't want to get medicine for it because that's even worse. Because Jerry Berg, who is Barnacles, he's got worse depression problems, and he used to take medicine for it, and it was messing him up. And also, most of the medicines that you take for depression give you suicidal thoughts.
None of them help you.
None of it really helps you. So, I've been basically vegetating in my room for a long time, and have had little motivation to do anything else. I mean, I've been wanting to do... We did the Atari video, last Atari video for Gamers Bay, and we need to do another one. We'll probably work on that tomorrow. But I need to get that done, and I was working on another one of my stories that I release on fanfiction.net, and I go, you know, I need to get out of this rut. And I think...
I wonder if I'd lost the link.
No. How much did you miss there? Oh, you have to repeat all that?
No. I could hear you in the living room, but I couldn't hear you in the headset. So, okay. I was like, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm like, I can't hear nothing, and this is news to me too. So
yeah, and you know, depression's a thing that I've been seeing a lot from people because I'm in a lot of social media groups on Google Plus, and I see a lot of people have it, and some people have it a lot worse, where they feel like they're garbage. And I've been trying to help people with their problems, and I'm going, you know, I'm helping all these people with their problems. What about mine? I mean, my problems is, you know, not as severe as some other people's issues are. I mean, I've gone to dark places. I mean, there was a overpass in Maryland in Virginia that looked pretty good one time. Yeah. But, I went to dark places before, but I had good friends that helped me. I mean, nobody knew what was going on with me, especially my ex. She didn't know. I mean, she thought there was a problem, but didn't know that it was this. And
it makes sense on a lot of things that I've been seeing though.
I know. It's basically, the point is I need to make a change, and so doing those streams in the morning, like Barnacles, he's doing morning coffee stream, where he basically goes on Twitch and he talks with people in chat, and he just talks about everything. He talks about depression, he talks about different issues and different things, and he just chats with people. And I need to do the same, and also I need to exercise at the same time. I'm not in shape to do any strenuous stuff. I've got an exercise bike, so screw it, I need to do it. So get that exercise bike out and start It's a little under the desk exercise bike that sits on the floor. Start using that, and then I thought, heck, start streaming stuff and talk to people when I'm doing it. You know, and I did it the first time, and I was going to do it for an hour, and I couldn't get through it a whole hour on the bike. So it's going to be like 20 minutes at a time until I get a little more into it, and then until I get down to a size where I can actually start walking. Because right now I can't walk. I can barely do the shopping at Walmart. I had to sit down twice while I was there the last time. And so I need to do something. So that's the show. An interesting one, to say the least.
Yes.
Yes. Alright, so we will be back in 2 weeks with more topics and news and more interesting stuff. Oh, also, now that I'm going to be getting myself to do more work, I'm going to finish the script for an Old Otaku and get that episode out on TheZorch Central. The one on Yurushi Yatsura. That's going to be a big one. It's not going to be live streamed. It's going to be a video. Also, I've got some ideas for a new episode of Random Thoughts. Still thinking about whether or not I will continue that one, because I'm going back and doing Chloe the Professor. But that's been the news and everything. And I thank everybody that came on, gave us a follow, joined us in Mixer. Everyone that showed up. There's
yeah, I don't think we had anybody from any of the other services. I think this has been a completely Mixer audience.
Yeah, we haven't had anybody out. Anybody from YouTube. It's all been Mixer.
Yeah, YouTube or yeah, this has been a Mixer audience.
We've gotten some love from Mixer.
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching, everybody, and we will be back in 2 weeks, and I will see you all also very soon on Bike with Mike at 9 a.m. in the morning on, I can't say what day it'll be starting, but it'll be in October. 9 a.m. Central. Don't know what time that is elsewhere. I think that will be 10 Eastern time.
Be 9 a.m. CDT, I think, or CST. Yeah. One of those. What are we on? I don't know.
We're in Central.
One of those.
We're in Central time.
Central time.
We're in Texas, so it's Central time. All right, and thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you later.
Peace.